Their mother's gone down the rabbit hole and she's dragged the whole lot of us down there with her.
Is the kind of document that we've started producing?
It was signed off by a supposed judge.
Chief law officer, I believe it said.
It was stamped like an official stamp on the
Yes, it was.
document.
People of Nandaka Nala Australis.
Chief Justice,
Yes.
you've been served.
You know, when you think about getting married, I was thinking, hope it doesn't rain, you know, not do I need security there to prevent somebody ruining the wedding.
Welcome back to part 2 of my chat with Scott Murrin. In part 1, Scott told us about the way his life was turned upside down following his separation from his partner Helen Delaney. Helen, who had been caught up in the ideological beliefs of a sovereign citizen movement and was a co-founder of Namdaka Dalia Australis, known as NDA, a radical anti-government organisation that is aligned with the sovereign citizen movement. In part 2, we discuss Helen's criminal charges, how they affected Scott and his family. We talk about the fake warrant served on Scott, demanding him to surrender his 2 sons and submit himself for arrest, and how failure to comply with that warrant would result in life imprisonment with hard labour. Now, if this sounds like a joke, well, this is what Scott actually went through. Scott tells us about what happened when the matter finally hits the courts, and we also talk in general about the sovereign citizen movement. It's quite concerning. Scott Murrin, welcome back to part 2 of I Catch Killers.
Thanks, Gary.
I'm still trying to digest the what you've been through with the battles with your ex-partner. So, we were talking about all the attempts they had to, I suppose, unnerve you in a way, where there's AVO orders out that Helen shouldn't stay within a 500 metre or exclusion zone. Obvious breaches of that, different things that have occurred. And then it got to the point where the police have said, okay, enough's enough. You talked about 27, I think you said, or thereabouts, incidents of where contact has been made to the police of concerns for welfare for your kids, which resulted in police turning up and checking on the welfare. It's chaotic. But and this is all you've seen the changes in Helen when she's been involved in the movement.
Yeah.
You even had what I would loosely term a warrant served on you.
Yes, I did.
I had a look at the document, or 4 pages of the document, and it was described in a article by the ABC. I'll describe this. The logo of official-looking letter was unfamiliar, but even before opening it, Scott knew who it came from. Beneath a motto that read, "Do no harm," the warrant demanded he surrender his 2 sons to court sheriffs and submit himself for arrest. A failure to comply, it read, would result in life imprisonment with hard labour. The document was sent to Scott in March by a group calling itself the Namdaka Dalia Australis, NDA, a radical anti-government organisation that is aligned with sovereign citizen movement. So, talk me through this. Like, this is,
Yeah, well,
and I'm sorry.
Yep.
I jump in before I. It was signed off by a supposed judge.
Chief law officer, I believe it said.
It was stamped like an official stamp on
Yes,
the document. It was set up to look like an official document. It's not worth the paper it was written on.
Yeah.
But to the uneducated or ill-informed, you're thinking, what's this?
Yeah, well, it kicked me up another gear because I was like, okay, here they're now admitting that they're going to try and take my children.
Yeah.
There was individual arrest warrants within that, naming both of my boys, and it said, that they can take one or both of those boys and return them to the custody of the mother. Yeah. It was served on me by a process server. I found out later.
Official process server.
Yeah,
so,
an official one. Yeah. And then whilst I was doing a ERISP video with police about how I received it and whatever, I was actually called by the judge of the fake court.
The so-called judge.
The so-called judge, and asked, do you understand what you have to do and all the rest of it? We'd looked up where I was supposed to deliver the children,
Yep.
And it was a rural property in somewhere near Gympie. I made inquiries myself into who owned that property, and he had form. So, number one, there was no chance I was going to do that.
Yeah.
But it then, again, kicked me up a gear in saying, they're going to work in company to try and come and get my boys.
Well, the document, there was a lot of work that's gone in to create a document like that, so that would cause concern to start with, I would imagine. Whoever's sitting there planning this, there was a lot of gobbledygook. That's a legal term for it. It was crap. I was trying to dissect it, and if they're trying to set it up to look like an official warrant, that was clearly someone that wasn't au fait with a proper legal person.
Yeah.
But what was concerning is the amount of effort they've gone to do that.
Yeah.
And the concern, I would imagine the concern, were you what stage were you at in your battles? Because it was a battle that you were going through.
I was ready to go to war.
This group.
Yeah. To put it bluntly, I was ready to go to war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've taken that to the police, and while you're there, you get a phone call from the supposed judge.
Yep. The police identified themselves.
Yep.
Made the person aware that it was being recorded.
That's beautiful.
Yep. And, I thought old mate would just hang up, but he didn't. He just said, what you have to do. He kept reiterating that. I remember one of the officers getting pretty heated in demanding he say who he is. And, I think at the end I called him a fucking flop.
Yep.
And he hung up the phone. Yeah.
But that's would be concerning in that someone that irrational, the way that they're carrying on. Like I describe it as irrational. Someone might describe it in another way. But there's an arrogance, there's an entitlement, and I find that quite creepy. They're people that...
and I'll use another word. I think there's intent.
Yeah.
There's an intent there to cause fear. There's an intent there to tell me they're coming to take my children.
Yep.
And I would say I'm not, I've become paralegal through this whole thing. That's another hat I've had to wear. That with that intent and sending that stuff to me is conspiracy to kidnap children, minors.
Yeah. How do you explain to your kids their mother was watching them? Or, you can call it stalking, whether it's it amounts to stalking, but how did you explain to them that the mother's keeping an eye on them?
It was difficult.
I would imagine.
My youngest son was under the impression that she'd moved back into the area.
Okay.
Something that I probably didn't mention before, that he always used to say, he stopped saying it now, but he used to say she'll never give up.
Yeah.
He'd heard things when he was staying in those camps.
Yeah.
And things like, we'll go through their doors and stuff like that. That's stuck in his head. So, yeah, it's difficult to explain to him. I just have to say these things are going on, and hopefully that they'll change in the future for you. That's about all I can do.
It's a hard conversation. Was it the younger son that was also sprouting ideology?
At school, yeah. Mainly ideologies about ScoMo.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah, Scott Murrin.
Yeah.
And, my body, my rules. Stay away from the jab, all that sort of stuff. But apparently he was standing up and sort of announcing it to his school classroom. Yeah,
okay. That's well, that clearly the impact that hanging around with that group has had on him to become out like that. And I'm not alluding, as I did the disclaimer in part one, saying that what goes on with sovereign citizens always lead to what's happened. I need to make it very clear. We're not suggesting all sovereign citizens are capable of committing such horrendous crimes, or Helen and the Namdaka Dalia Australia's, which is the sovereign citizen group.
It was a group that she formed, yes.
Yeah, that she formed. For that matter, are linked or would carry out crimes of that nature. But look at the two shootings in Queensland and Victoria of police carrying out their duties, and people identify or are aligned with sovereign citizens. And it's quite scary, isn't it?
Yeah. That people feel like they can take their ideology to that level.
Yep.
Frightening young children, frightening people that were caring for my young children,
Yeah.
you know, is another part of it.
Yeah.
They're worried about the other children at that school, which come into play when we had school excursions and stuff.
Well, I was thinking when you were talking about the protections that were put in place for your children's friends and also at school, and if I was a parent of the friends or parents of the other kids at school, I'd be worried.
Yeah, mate, I actually put in my own disclaimer because I would expect other parents to do that to me. But if my son was going to have a sleepover, which he didn't for a long time, the first thing I would do, and that's both of my sons, was say, you know, this is what's going on in our lives, and I will totally understand if you don't want my children at your home.
So you would upfront the
100%, yeah, because I don't want to be dragging other people into my mess, you know.
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Did you have community support while this was going on in the area that you were living? Because that's the other thing. Your privacy's just been blown wide open too.
Yeah. So when we get back to that DV thing, you know,
Yep.
one of the things I guess as a man is you feel vulnerable,
Yep.
saying that we're being impacted by domestic violence. So I got to a stage where I was like, you know, a lot of this stuff's happening from keyboards. Yes, they were making approaches and things like that, but I'm going to drag them out into the public. This is not, when we discussed it as a family, this is not a dirty little secret that I'm going to keep secret because that protects them. What I've learned is, somebody that inflicts domestic violence against you, they want to silence you. They want to control you. Well, I took that away the moment I started to discuss it with people. I encouraged my children to discuss it with their friends, with their friends' parents, and speak openly about what was going on in their lives. We did this with their school counsellors. They both see regular school counsellors, and school principals. You know, I had multiple meetings, and the support I received in return was overwhelming. Yeah. That, yes, it's okay for your children still to be at the school.
It's good people can understand what you're going through. So how did the matter actually get to court? When did it get to court? And I'm talking the criminal court here, not the family law court.
So Helen had 8 warrants
out
for
arrest warrants for each individual breach of the AVO.
Different things, yeah.
I think initially there was some extra charges of intimidation as well. Okay. So they had 8 warrants out.
Yes, I became, a bit of a pain in the arse, I guess is a polite way to put it, to the cops.
Yep.
I started to write letters and provide information from my own investigations into senior police's pigeonholes.
Yep.
I worked out that was part of the system. I'd hand it over at the police station and say, this is not a complaint, this is just some information I wanted to hand on to this person, but I'd seal it and put that person's name on there.
Yep.
And I'm talking some fairly high-ranking police. I went and spoke to the local members a number of times. And just was like, what actually became a marker for me was they do this thing called Operation Amarok. So each time Operation Amarok happened, they'd say, we've got 600 of the state's most serious offenders and lock them up and that sort of thing.
Warrants out for them. And
every time that would happen, I'd do the little mailbox drop and say, how come you didn't get Helen Delaney?
Scott, and I know you're a listener to the podcast and people would have heard me say, I support doing that type of thing. And you're not being critical of police, but you're just putting police on notice that you expect the job to be done.
Yep.
And they're there to serve the public. And you're a member of the public and this person is causing you a lot of angst and so make people accountable. So great strategy.
Yeah, so I was pretty diligent in that.
You can say obsessive, diligent probably sounds better. But
so I used the metaphor that I was sprinkling breadcrumbs across your desk.
I was just diligent.
Yeah.
Pain in the arse, but sometimes you've got to be a pain in the arse to get things done.
I had a lot of people, Gary, that were like moved on, or that's what I was told. Not in this division anymore.
That's a problem, and it's not anyone to blame. But with the police rotating through, and someone's familiar with the case that's been dragged on for years, and then all that knowledge is left. And
so I even got to the point where I walked in to one of the stations with a coffee.
Yeah.
I sat down on the chair and I said, "I'm here to see the boss."
Yep.
Do you have an appointment? No, I don't. Oh, he's busy.
Yeah.
I said, "Well, tell him I like lots of coffee."
Yeah.
So when this one runs out, I'll get a coffee and I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
And, you know, I eventually got, I won't mention rank or anything, but somebody come and said, mate, what do you want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I said
well,
the breadcrumbs have just been sprinkled over your desk at your rank.
Yep.
So I want her caught. I want this stopped. I've put up with enough.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I had to
And
do.
like you mentioned the figures, eight warrants, but if they've got their warrants and they're apprehension warrants, like you can apprehend the person, they should be served. You can't just let them keep building it up. That gives them a false confidence in itself.
Yeah, and remembering that, I probably haven't mentioned this, but every person in this case that has gone back against Helen, so whether it had been an arresting officer, a judge, my lawyers, everybody has received the sovereign citizen treatment the moment their names are identified in our case. So bombarded with paperwork, emails, phone calls.
Let's hope bycatch killers don't receive that.
It's coming,
But,
Gary. Trust me, it's coming.
All right.
Yeah.
So you've got to the point where you're pushing the police. There's a number of warrants for her apprehension, and then she's been caught. That video we showed where the roadside stopped, that wasn't this time. Was that another time?
That was early in the piece.
That was early.
And then I believe she had the high risk domestic violence offender team.
Right.
Both the northern and southern region.
Yep.
Looking for her.
Yep.
And I believe, they end up getting her at a roadside traffic stop. Again, that same gentleman was in the car. And another disclaimer, those videos are filmed by that person, and that's how they make their way on the internet. Not doing it, he's made any favours at all.
Yeah.
Publicly, yeah.
So it's crazy world, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is the crazy world.
Yeah, and I'm told when she was arrested, she was, and this is, I heard secondhand, but she had like 6 IDs on her.
I went through the transcripts. I had access to the transcripts, I think about 150 pages of it, and I was getting a headache reading through it. I just can't imagine what it would have been like you being involved in the court matter and seeing it go on. And I'll say a logical way that she would respond to some questions and the pain and the obstructive manner in which she went through court. To give you an example, when she was being sworn in to give evidence, so she's asked to identify herself, and this is from the transcripts, and so it's public record. This is Helen's answer. Yep. So I'm Helen. That's my name my mother and father gave me, and that's the only name I consent to. I don't consent to any further additional names on top of that because I understand them to be Crown copyright assets. Okay, well, that was just being sworn in. Can you tell me your name? That was the answer. When the magistrate asked her if she knows why she's here, this is what she said. I can't actually say yes to that, Your Honour, respectfully. First of all, as this court accepted yesterday the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, I have made extensive efforts. Over 5 years, I've been self-determined and self-governed. Scott and I managed to separate the familiar properties. I left home of violence evidenced by police reports, and I'm self-determined and self-governing. So no, I do not understand why I'm here today when this document, United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, says that I have a right to self-determine and self-govern. I consider that I'm here because I've been forcibly joined, forced assimilated into this situation that we're in today. Like, I'm getting a headache even going through it. Helen was asked by the prosecutor about the AVO before her that was the subject of, and this is what she responded to that. So this is the apprehend violence order that was clearly in front of her, and she was asked a question about it, and this is her answer. No, I rebut all assumptions, presumptions, and allegations against me. And being subject to these orders would mean unlawful conversion between Helen and the legal fiction that is Helen Delaney, which I do not consent to, and I do not agree to be the trustee. I do not agree to be the co-trustee. I do not consent to anyone administering on the trust. Were you in the court at the time when this was going on?
Yeah, so through DV, they give you the option to sit in a separate
Yep.
room, which is what happened for my wife.
Yep.
I determined I was going to be in that courtroom and look her in the eye
Yeah.
and say, what you've done is not right,
Yeah.
and I'm the line. You won't be getting past this line. So
And just in reference to those answers to very simple, straightforward questions, which could have been answered yes or no, or just provide the name. This is the narrative that she continued on with.
Yes.
During the hearing,
right through it.
and she represented herself.
Yes.
She had a court-appointed questioner to help her facilitate questions.
Yeah, even that poor bugger was shaking his head.
And here we are, a court that's set up that's still got to offer her rights and provide all the assistance to her that's required. But clearly, I'd say it, and this is not a technical term, she's just taking the piss out of the court.
Yes. Yeah.
It's,
It's what they do. They don't recognise the authority of the court.
yeah.
So they run it the way they want to run it. And it all it does is clog the courts, which are already clogged.
Yeah.
Hence why, 4 years after this started, we get to our final hearing. Yeah.
So 4 years from the start
Pretty
to finish.
much.
That's how long it.
That's how long it took to get justice. That was the hearing, and then of course she appealed. She dragged the appeal out in terms of not showing up,
Yep.
wanting to do it via video link on her own terms, this sort of stuff. And the court sort of tolerated it to a point.
Yeah.
And then she was told she had to be there. It's her appeal. And of course, on the day, she didn't turn up, and it was dismissed. But that's what they do. They like to waste the court's time.
And it's in wasting the court's time, it's wasting public funds. It's just a drain on society.
Yeah, mate. And I can't tell you how many visits to court I've had, but it's in the tens of dozens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just appearances or just a mention date.
Mention,
Yep.
adjourned, moved forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you've got the magistrate, you've got the prosecutor, who, in my reading of the transcripts, I think they both behaved themselves very well in that they gave her enough latitude, but then just called her on it.
There was stuff,
different times.
allegations that I was in the court to intimidate and do stuff like that. Gary, I wore the same suit that I'm wearing today.
Yep.
My wedding suit, I only have one.
Yeah.
I sat in the same seat.
Yep.
In line of view of the magistrate.
Yeah.
And I didn't say a word. I sat through the lot of it.
Yeah.
To let the magistrate know, but I'm here to say it's not on.
Fully understand. Fully
Yeah.
understand the need and why you'd want to go in there. The end result of the court matter, as I understand, that she was convicted of breaching the AVO 11 counts.
Yeah, so originally charged with 16 counts.
Yep.
With 3 counts of stalk intimidate.
Yep.
And I believe there was 4 failed to appear on bail or something like that, and convicted of 12 of the 16.
Yep.
And then convicted of 1 of the intimidate.
Yep.
And the breach of bails, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was in custody at the time,
Yep.
the court matter, so that she's been held in custody after the arrest. I think sentenced to 9 months, was it?
No, it's a sentence to 12 months.
Yep.
And then released with time already served of 4 months.
Right.
4 to 5 months, I think it was. And then we had an instant appeal.
Yeah.
On that, so wasn't going to serve any more time.
Okay. Well, look, we won't delve into the court side of it anymore. How did it make you feel when the guilty verdict came down? Was there any satisfaction, or is it just
mate,
it's gone past that?
What happened was there was only myself and some media in the court.
Yeah.
The emotion of that last 4 years and the relief that, I was in this for nothing more than protect my children and get justice for them, for what had happened to them. And I don't know what got the better of me, but I stood up. When he said dismissed, I stood up and yelled out justice for my boys.
Yeah.
They're the last 3 words on the transcript.
Yeah.
And, I walked out and shed a few tears. There was definitely some relief. But like we do, we just sort of get through that week and see what comes next week. Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like it's in the past?
No. I'm never going to stop watching these boys until they're old enough that they move out of home or whatever they do. I've had some police officers, more than one, say to me, if it was my family, I'd pick up and move to the other side, WA, in fact. My response to that is I'm not committing the offences, and that lets that person win. So I'm not going anywhere. This is my family home. Yeah. It's where my children want to live. They've got their friends. We'll go about life, but life will always be a little different for us than the family next door.
Do you want to just tell me that without going into details or naming names, but you had to get security, a +1.
Yeah,
we'll
+1.
Security +1.
Yeah, we just had a small family wedding, and I was made aware the day before the wedding, had you thought about security? And I was like, no.
And that was even police suggesting.
Yeah, it was, mate, yeah.
So that, and look, I think that's a proper role of police that put the idea out there.
Yeah, and you know, when you're thinking about getting married, I was thinking, hope it doesn't rain, you know, hope the bride's happy, hope my best mate doesn't get drunk and make a goose of himself. Not, do I need security there to prevent somebody ruining the wedding? But it just never crossed my mind. So I had 24 hours to organise something, and I won't go into too much detail, but
no, I would describe it as you got a friend / associate with the suitable skills to be security at the wedding.
Pretty much, yeah. And the guests sort of started to notice that. This is where the black humour comes in again, I guess. But yeah, the guests noticed that, and were getting concerned, and I was like, oh, that's +1. You know, that person that gets invited that's not on the main role. But it is what it is. It's our life, and we're doing our best to get through it with a smile on our dial at the end.
You got to laugh.
Yeah, you've definitely got to laugh. Mate.
Otherwise, you'd just be crying or angry.
Yeah, I'd be carrying a box of tissues around.
Yeah, you got to have that the middle ground and just see how stupid this whole situation has been for you.
It certainly has been, yeah.
Is there any restrictions still in place, like AVOs?
Yeah, there's an AVO in place until 2027.
Right. So you got that form of protection, but as you've seen or demonstrated, that was only
it's just a bit of paper.
Piece of paper. If someone's not going to abide by it.
Yeah, and while I've had a lot of community support, and it continues to this day, that was the realisation I come to. You know, that the line that I keep referring to between the boys and what could happen is me. So regardless of any outside help or what the police can or can't offer or what the AVO says, I'm that line that says you're not going past here, and that's just the way it's going to be.
I'm thinking through, because I've sat with people that have had stalking situations and that, and we talk about ankle bracelets on people that can't abide by the court. In that, and I still promote it. I push it and push it. I think it is the way of the future. That if you were stalking me, let's say, and you've offended enough to the point where the courts have got to take action, you've got an ankle bracelet on, and if you come within 500 metres of me or a kilometre of me, I get notified that you're in the area, and that would give me some peace of mind. Yes. It's a little bit different with your situation, because it's not Helen acting on her own.
You've got other players in the game.
These other people that are quite obsessive. And when you see something like what's happened in Victoria and what happened up in Queensland and other situations, what goes through your mind?
And I don't want to align myself. I don't know those families. Obviously, my heart goes out to them. They were people just doing their job. You know, nobody deserves to have that happen to them at work. But yeah, we do. I don't live in fear. I live in readiness. That's something I want to make very clear. That I've had a lot of time to prepare myself mentally for what's going on, and like I said to you, I'm prepared to open up the gates of hell and drag them inside, Gary, if I have to. That's just how it has to be. So watch this space, I guess. We can't live a normal life, then we'll live life on our terms as best we can.
But you shouldn't. And look, I'm looking you in the eyes, and I can see you mean what you say.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a person that makes threats.
No.
You know, like I said to you, my children did not choose for this to be in their life, for this to happen.
Yeah.
The rabbit hole gets tossed around a lot, but essentially that's what's happened. Their mother's gone down the rabbit hole, and she's dragged the whole lot of us down there with her. And I'll do whatever I can to let my children have a normal life.
Was there any in all the ongoing disputes, whether it be in the civil or criminal, was there any suggestion of mental health issues? Did that ever come into...
Yeah, I've been asked that multiple times.
Yep.
But, like, I'm not a psychologist.
Yeah.
My answer to that when people ask me that is, you know, a mental health break or something, you know, I would think can be temporary to do something like this.
Yeah.
This has been long, sustained, planned, you know, actioned. So, yeah, I probably say, in my opinion, I can't speak on behalf of Helen Delaney, but I would say that she knows exactly what she's doing. What I would say if she ever listens to this is her children want her to stop.
Yeah.
They don't want to live their lives like this. They don't want their mother not to be in their lives. They just want it to stop the behaviour.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to throw your life away, you throw it away. But remember that there's children in this, and those children are having their lives thrown away by your actions.
That's an important message, and if there's any thing that comes out of it, if she is listening, and it'd surprise me if she doesn't, if she hears about it, that is a very strong message.
Yeah, and it's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you learnt about the group, the NDA?
Lots, Gary.
Yeah.
I've got a large file.
Yeah. Is there anything public that you can share? I don't. We're not picking a fight here, but that I think.
No, I'm not picking.
Part of it is that people have got to understand what these groups are about. We as we talked about at the start of the podcast, we sort of looked at these groups of a bit of humour. It was a bit funny. Someone seceding from the Commonwealth and all that, but it's gone a lot further.
Yeah, and it continually morphs into something else.
Yeah.
So once they become exposed as what they are, they change the group. They change the name of the group. There's a lot of the same players within that group.
Yeah.
They do this thing where they call themselves, like the chap they're looking for at the moment, Desi Freedom.
Yeah.
Not his surname.
Yeah.
You know, they change their names. They hide behind keyboards. A lot of them. They talk in secret chat rooms. You know, what I would say to them is, you don't know who's within those chat rooms.
Yeah.
Who's documenting what you're saying. Who's happy to drag you out in the public and say, this is what you're doing. And I'm referring to Helen Delaney there.
Yeah.
I don't want to pick a fight with the rest of them. I've got enough on my plate.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, whatever you want to call yourself, or whatever you want to hide behind, what you're doing is not okay. And there's members of the community that are prepared to get into your groups and expose you for who you are.
And, again, a good message, but I think it's a reasonable assumption for them to make too, that the police are going to be spending a lot more time looking at these groups now, not because of what's we're talking about here, but the things that have played out in Victoria and Queensland.
Yeah.
That there will be some further attention. Big question, and you mightn't have an answer, but something like what happened in Victoria. Do you see this as predictable when you're watching the narrative on the keyboards?
That's a big call to answer that. Well, you know, I don't know how to answer that, Gary. To be honest, what I would say is, there's all sorts of people within these groups. Yeah. And if you go online now, there's grubs out there celebrating what happened down there
in Victoria,
which is just disgraceful. And I think that, you know, the possibility for further things to happen is certainly on the cards. You can't rule that out.
I'm not sure if we covered it, but the dressing up in the sheriff's uniforms or the fake sheriff's uniforms. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we become aware that they were on a bit of a recruitment drive, and Namdaka, or NDA as we refer to them, they hired a bus like the government buses you see. They put a large sticker down the side of that bus, and they were going through small groups and towns, basically putting their message out there and recruiting members. I think at one stage we had numbers of around 150. Some of those people are just vulnerable people that may have lost their children in custody battles, that may have, had their family home taken off them, may not have agreed with what happened during COVID, that sort of thing, and they get caught up in this, and it's cult-like. They preach to them. They have formed their own little sheriff's thing. I believe it's something that's come from the States as well. They wear body cameras. They had beige Akubra hats on. I nearly attacked a bloke that knocked on my front door that I saw approach on the cameras, who was a Jehovah's Witness that just happened to be wearing a beige shirt and a beige Akubra. Right. That's how heightened I am. I think it's silly, them running around in the uniforms. But what I would say is we need to stop talking about them being silly. Yeah. They're a group and they're acting in company and they're organised and they hold their meetings, and some of those members do stupid things that they can't take back.
And you touched on there that it attracts vulnerable people, and that's that is very much a cult situation.
There's always a grift. So that grift, these people need to fund their lifestyle of not working and being productive members of the community. So they always looking to sell you an idea or a story. So don't drive with a driver's license, buy one of ours. Yeah. Put your fake name on there, but you've got to buy it off them.
And with the social media and that, you can go down the rabbit hole too, can't you? And
100%.
Ideologies, and I think this is a concern that you get into an algorithm that you're looking on social media, and your ideology, how way out it might or might not be, you got all these people that are telling you the same thing, so you can see how people get sucked into it.
Yeah, and vulnerable people get drawn into a group that's saying, listen, we can help you get your kids back, we can help you do this, and they feel a part of something. Yeah. And then they're emboldened to do more than they normally would. Yeah. Yeah.
And invariably one person taking advantage of the vulnerable people in there and steering it.
Yeah, there's always a grift
in a direction. I prepping for this podcast just got me interested in the whole sovereign citizen movement, and a little bit of research there, and just a couple of things that we might open up to discussion. We're not talking about the NDA now. We're not talking about Helen. This is just a general discussion about the sovereign citizen movement in Australia. So a summary of it, we've talked enough about it now, but in Australia is part of a broader global movement that claims individuals can declare themselves independent from government authority and law. Proponents of this movement believe that they are sovereign individuals who are not subject to the laws of the state, often rejecting legal systems, taxation and government regulations. That sort of sums up the narrative. They sort of sit separate. We're stepping away from it.
Something you missed there, Gary, is they don't reject the dole payment.
Well, I will get to that because I've got in my notes here. I've just the hypocrisy of their ideology. But we'll talk about that. Worries. But in key beliefs that's broken down into common law, the use of common law is something that's happened in the past. That's what we base our laws on, the common law, not the statute law that we have here. Yeah. Self-identification, anti-government sentiment. That seems to be, and the research I looked at, I'm by no means an expert, but it sort of came from the US about during covert power and the push, and I think it's people have bought into it what we went with all the lockdowns here in the country. So that sort of got a little bit of momentum.
And there's a rich market if you're looking for supporters.
It's not a hard narrative to buy into, is it? Like it's easy to...
And a slippery slope where you get dragged in and you start to believe the stuff, and before you know it, your life's going...
You're caught up in it. Court and legal systems challenges, they rely on the court system to some degree. Like they want all the benefits of the court system when it suits them, but then they don't want to acknowledge the court system when it doesn't, or our legal system, which I think is a strange thing. Conspiracy theories, when you've got people that got an ideology and they're on the extreme, it's easy to dangle a conspiracy. The government's working against you. This is happening. All police are this, and you can see how. Yeah,
planting microchips in your brain through cranberry juice. I've read it all.
Yeah. And it might buy into one or two people, and then you got, he agrees with me. Scott's agreeing with what I've said, and then it escalates from there. So I wonder, and again, this is not picking a fight with sovereign citizens, but I've just hear hypocrisy of the ideology. So rejection of government authority versus dependence on services. So you were talking about the welfare payments, that we don't respect the government, but where's our welfare payment?
Even driving on public roads.
Yeah.
They're not driving on them, they're travelling on them. Either way, you're using the public road.
Is that out? Because I picked up on that, not driving, we're travelling.
Yeah.
Because my argument would be, well, you don't agree with the paying the taxes and all that. You're using the facilities, but they're travelling. They're not
That's
driving.
right. That's how they get around that. And the vehicle is horse-powered. So it goes back to horse-drawn vehicle. It's, I don't know. What more can I say? Well, it's difficult.
Looking at utilising public infrastructure, I suppose that, we're talking roads, we're talking public transport, we're talking about the medical system or the healthcare system. Yeah. Legal challenges versus legal protections, selective acceptance of laws. That seems to be very much something they like when it suits them.
Yeah.
Grab hold of it.
And selective versions of the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cherry pick what they want out of the argument.
Yeah.
But don't use facts.
Well, I suppose we could pick apart the ideology in a lot of ways, but seeing how you've experienced it, and we're not putting you up as the expert on sovereign citizens, but in your personal experience, you've had to have a look at it.
Yep.
Do you see these type of ideologies and groups rising, or do you think the pendulum?
Yeah, I can tell you that. Yeah, that I'm no expert, but I can tell you the numbers are rising.
Yeah.
Purely by being in the groups,
right,
and monitoring what the stuff that's related to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that grow exponentially, and hopefully the government is watching, and taking some action, because they need to put a lid on this pot before it boils. That's what I see.
Looking back at what you've gone through, do you think there's any way you could have put a circuit breaker in this and not let it escalate it to the manner in which it did?
No, I think what you had, and I've thought about that a lot, is two parents, fighting over the kids, and you add into it the complexities of what's been involved in our case, and it just, there's no way I'm backing down, I can assure you, like I've said many times. And I assume Helen Delaney will be the same. Yeah. So it's, where does it stop? I don't know where it stops, but I know I'm prepared to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
And coming on and speaking to you about it is to let them know that.
Yeah.
You're not going to silence me, you're not going to intimidate me. Yeah. What you're doing is wrong, and I'm going to stand in front of that. And I don't say that in relation to the whole sovereign citizen thing. I say in relation to my children. Yeah.
Well, I think, and I'm looking at the way you've handled it all the way through. It was conciliatory, like 50-50 to start with. It wasn't you. She was all to blame. That type of separation. It was, you went your separate ways, different life goals.
Yeah.
And then it's just gone bad. And
and I'll go as far as to say this, Gary. Somebody said to me that all children deserve a mother.
Yep.
Unfortunately, not all mothers deserve their children. That's what we're at.
Yeah.
That's where this. I don't know if there's much more I can say on it. That's they said that to me, this person, and it rings true for me. That's.
How do you think your children have been impacted by what's gone on?
Hugely.
Yeah.
Hugely. Part of doing this also, and I've only spoken to select media.
Yeah.
Is my children are going to, at the moment, they're looking at this through the lens of children.
Yes.
Okay. At some stage, they're going to be fathers. They're going to be adults. And when that happens, they'll look at this very differently. Not having their mother in their life is not easy. I'll say that. But what I want out there is, you know, you've seen the window smash thing. I think that had 12 million hits.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of other stuff on the internet that they've already seen about their mother, and they have kids say stuff to them about it.
Yeah, that'd be hard.
It is hard. They've been very lucky. They've got really supportive mates and the parents and that. But what I will say is that I want to put a version there so that they can see there's another side to this. There's always two versions in an argument. When they're fathers and they're grown adults, which is, you know, not that far down the track for them, they'll be able to look back and see that their father made the decisions he made based on what was going on at the time, that they can't change. I can't change what happened in their life. Yeah. And that I did everything in my bloody power to protect them from what was going on in their life.
Yeah, I don't think there can be any argument there. What about you personally? The impact
Mate, I've aged in dog years.
Yeah, you lost your hair?
I've lost my hair. I think that started when I was 16, Gary. But, yeah, it's taken a huge toll on myself, on Karen.
And Karen, and we'll give reference to Karen. Karen's your wife. She's come here and in the conversations very supportive of what you've gone through. That must have been
mate, without Karen,
she
has been rock solid.
Yeah.
She's had to step into something that most, I think, partners, I think even if I was put in the same situation, Gary,
Jesus, if I looked at you on paper, I'd be running a mile. Karen, what's the go there?
Yeah.
What did you see in him?
I think what I would have done was say I'm ducking down a pub for a beer and maybe not come home. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm extremely lucky that she's been there through all of this and continues to this day to do that. She's been that voice of reason for the boys as well. I don't think she'll mind me saying that. You know, the boys are sort of grieving. I use this term. They're grieving the loss of somebody that hasn't died.
Yeah, it's so difficult for the kids. It must be really.
And you imagine the responsibility, Gary, that comes with being a part of, you know, taking action. Yeah. That's brought that about. It's huge. I don't underestimate that at all. But I've done what I've done to protect my children.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's got to be the priority, hasn't it?
That's the number one priority above all else. Yeah. My own health, you know, my finances, everything. The children are the number one priority. If they had two parents that were doing that, we wouldn't be in this mess. Yeah. Something, you know, somebody said to me the other day, who's been along this journey with us, you guys need a holiday. You know, if I ever won Lotto, I'd send you guys on a holiday. Yeah. I said, that's nice, but it's going to have to be in Australia because something we didn't mention along the way is I had to put a port block in on both of the boys, as there was other people overseas, and there was a concern that may happen.
Sorry, and that was your concern that they might be grabbed and then facilitated overseas? Yeah,
well, she currently held their passports at the time, so that made that a very real prospect. It cost a fair bit of money and time to get that put in place. But unfortunately, along with that comes the fact that I can't take them out of the country either. So no Fiji holiday for us at the moment. It's
I recommend Darwin. I always like going to Darwin. At least
I don't do heat, Gary.
You don't?
I don't do heat.
Head off down to Tasmania. Then.
Yeah, and Karen will probably tell you I don't do planes, so they'd have to sedate me. Yeah. Okay. So I don't do holidays. Yeah. Okay. The boys and I have gotten into. I had a hobby of keeping koi fish, Japanese fish.
Oh right. Yeah.
And that's that's been one of the saviours for the boys.
That's a nice, peaceful...
It's a very peaceful...
That balances the yin and yang.
It is the yin and yang.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe you do. Is it qigong?
Yeah.
Well, staring into the pond gives me the same thing, and we're currently sort of doing our best to go from what they call pond fish up to show fish.
Wow.
A lot of time, effort, and money goes into it, but it gives back.
Yeah.
That's our relaxation.
Oh, well, that's. I'm glad you're getting some balance because you've been through a tough time.
Yeah, it's been different.
Well, look, I think, and your kids are going to look at this. You've handled it like you would expect a father to handle the situation. And I think that'll come across as they get older. They're in that awkward age now where they're like strangers to you anyway.
No, I'm very lucky, Gary.
Yeah.
I don't know if this has brought that bond closer, or like I mentioned, the tummy time. But both of my boys tell me they love me every day. Yeah. That my oldest son is not afraid to say it in front of his, they're on the phone, they call you, he says, love you, Dad. They say that in front of their mates. They're not afraid to hug me at the school in front of their mates. And that bond is strong, and I'm very lucky to have that. So with everything that's gone on, they can't take that away from me.
Well, it's great. It sounds like you're teaching them to be good young men.
Well, I hope they will turn out that way, yeah.
Well, look, thank you for coming on I Catch Killers. As I said at the start, you probably prefer just listening to it.
I never ever dreamed I was going to be on
here as a guest. But look, a lot of important messages you put out. You've given me a greater understanding of a potential area that was dismissed as a joke, but now we've got to take it more seriously. And also giving a male perspective of when domestic situations go bad, because invariably it's we're hearing from the woman's perspective. Yeah. And I think it's interesting hearing a man talk about it. And it does take an emotional toll. You're sitting there, stoic, and you got through it, but I can see the pain.
Oh, you see it in my eyes, mate. It does take a toll. Yeah, but it's important that blokes out there, that are going through. I dare say there's not many going through my situation.
No, but you managed.
I'm pretty unique there.
You managed to be unique.
Yeah, but I dare say there's blokes out there that'll listen to this that are going through their own situation. Yeah. All I would say is that the one denominator that doesn't change is that they're your kids. Yeah. So you might be prevented from seeing them in the short term. Play the long game. Those kids will come out of being children and become adults, and they're going to need a father. Yeah. So play the long game and step up.
Great advice, and we might leave it there.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
Cheers.